döden.
Kommer du för att hämta mig?
Jag har redan länge gått vid din sida.
Det vet jag.
Är du beredd?
Min kropp är rädd. Inte jag själv. Villkoret är att jag får leva så länge jag står dig emot. Spelar jag dig matt, förger du mig. Du fick svart.
Det passar ju bäst så. Inte sant?
Lyssnar ni på den så kommer jag tillbaka i rampet.
Max von Sydow was wonderful, and we had made many movies together. Ingmar never, when he directs, never says, this is what you feel and take a pause there and whatever. Ingmar gave us the lines and hoped we understood and we would create something from there. Max and I, we could discuss a little more. You know, if I say it this way, what would you feel? And we would talk about our feelings. And we were very much alike. And he was so good, and he wasn't like an actor, you know, it's all about me and then it's you. It was us together. So when we came on the set and we had a scene, it was wonderful. Oh, I'm going to meet this man again, and we have these lines, and we're going to do it together. And that's why also, because you're acting on your feelings, and if I was this woman, what would I feel now? If this man, who is like that, suddenly is turning his back on you, and is crude to you, and doesn't care, and doesn't listen to you. At the moment the camera went, he was like that. It's shattering. It's shattering. I don't even have to think about how I'm going to act. This wonderful man who I just were embracing and having fun with, he is like this for me, and it would just evoke feelings within me.
Du säger att jag fjäskar så slår jag till dig!
Fjäska! Du fjäska! Fjäska!
Hi, and welcome to Ward 13. Oh my God, you know, I cut my own hair. And under these lights, I'm looking more eccentric than ever. And unfortunately, we have these seats that you can't adjust. So I'm going to have to lose weight because I can't hit the button and hide this. Hey!
Are we on the air?
Yes, my friend Thomas Massengale is on the air, but I couldn't get a picture of him. And you've yet to send me one here that I can download.
No, I did send you one. To that address you sent me.
Oh, to Brendan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Brendan, Tom sent you a picture of his lovely countenance. If you want to do something with it. Hey, you know, Max von Sydow died. What? Well, it's coming. To Brendan at. Hey, Max von Sydow died, but as Tom and I were saying, other than the Ingmar Bergman films and a few others, we don't have much to say.
Know anything about him.
Right, but he made some very great movies. One of the all-time greatest movies was The Virgin Spring, which won the Academy Award for 1960, the best foreign film. If you've never seen it, I'd say you'll watch it. And the first clip was from The Seventh Seal, which made Bergman. Well, that was the first one. Okay, Tom, we got feedback.
The conversation to Terry Towers, who will provide helpful clinical information.
Tom?
Hold on.
What the heck's that? The joys of live TV.
Can you hear this?
Yes, I can. What is it? Some jabbering Bernie bot?
Deeper insight into what we're hearing from.
What is that?
Increasing media coverage on this topic. So thank you again, Terry, for joining us today. And
why is this still on my show? Are you there, Tom?
What?
Tom, why is that on? Are you like?
I was logged into a webinar on the coronavirus at Newburger Berman.
Oh well, Brendan, can we have the coronavirus background? There we go. There it is, Tom. The background. Ward 13
Gary
is.
Florell, can I see this while we're talking?
Yeah, you could go to Manchester Public TV and watch it online, but it's like a minute delay.
Okay, but at least I can see the background.
Yes, that would comfort you, wouldn't it? In these times of stress, where Joe Biden has made the most miraculous comeback, well, short of the presidency, right?
I mean, what can I say? Which channel are you on? 23?
Yes, we're on Manchester Public TV Service, Channel 23.
Okay. Here we go.
Now, are you a homeopath?
I am, and a naturopath and a nutritionist.
So, tell us about your take on the coronavirus, because I don't watch television, so I was not very alarmed about it. But then I was at the VA last week, and I noticed they have 4 or 5 buses I've never seen before, and they informed us, I go to group therapy and other things, that group therapy would probably be via telephone, and that they have background, they have a plan that hospital, because it's federal, would probably become a place if, there was a major breakout of the coronavirus and people got sick. They would use the Bedford, Massachusetts, the Bedford, Massachusetts Veterans Hospital, and possibly the other ones. There's 1, 2, in Boston, Jamaica Plain, West Roxbury. I think there's the one down near Plymouth, Mass, or near Weymouth, and out towards Springfield. I think there's one too. So, hearing it from them, and also hearing about how the Center for Disease Control refused to test anybody, so we have no idea how many people have been exposed or any statistics at all, which is these are people that work for the Veterans Administration. Even they're shocked. And
right.
Then you talk to other veterans that are from different disciplines, and last Friday, it seemed a very grim picture of what might happen. But what was most stood out was the utter failure of the United States government under President Trump to do anything. It's shocking. And later on, when I was there, I found out that he had taken to the news and made ridiculous comments. And the stock market, what's been going on. Then Monday, we had that 2,000 plus collapse. Also, Bay Street, which is Toronto, Canada, they lost 10% Monday off their stocks. London lost like 7.8% in one day. And you notice that
right,
they handed...
John, the Dow is down 6.5% today.
How many points right now at 3 Eastern?
It's at 23.3.
My God, it's going to happen now. The recession that Trump had tried to put off to after the election is going to happen. And, they always said it's going to be worse because it's being put off. But you notice that there was a press conference, was it Monday, where he handed off to Pence, and then Pence started talking about things. I know that he was put in charge of the coronavirus, but the point is, to try to calm the markets, they're passing the baton to somebody who has a reputation for competence, or did when he was in the House of Representatives. I mean, it was just shocking to watch. And then you lost 2,200 points. And now it's falling again, So how bad is the coronavirus, do you think? And we don't want to...
It's very difficult.
Yeah, we don't want to panic, people, or...
It's very difficult to say. I mean, what we've been told...
Right.
Now, the WHO did declare it a pandemic today.
And what is a pandemic?
Still, it's it has passed a certain threshold of contagion and spread where I don't know what the percentage of the population they figure will be infected, but that's a pandemic.
Well, we hear that I read the New York Times, I read the Telegraph in London, and the other major papers that I can get into. You can't get into the Times of London. They got quite a firewall. And I read the Toronto papers, and they're basically saying, I guess, that everybody will get exposed to the coronavirus. I guess it's like chicken pox or something, a different thing, but it's the thing.
Right, but
go ahead.
I guess I would question why there is not only this degree of panic in the public,
Right.
why, for instance, Italy took such extreme measures.
Yes, because if you don't know, Italy, the whole country of Italy is in quarantine, and Austria has forbidden Italians to come into their country. And Austria and Italy, they share a border. Yeah, it's
and Italy
incredible.
is the most visited country in the world.
It's the what?
Most visited country in the world.
That's right. Yeah, it's got... do you know what the head of one of the parties that's in the coalition government has the coronavirus? And there's a great deal of rumor in the health community that Trump has been exposed to it. And why he's refusing to be tested is... it's just remarkable. What do they say? The chickens have come home to roost in some ways,
Right, but there must be some danger we're not really seeing because it's actually a very weak flu, but it does seem to...
Has a high mortality rate.
It does seem to cause a lot of pneumonia in those at risk.
Right, which a lot of elderly people have respiratory problems. That just goes with the territory.
Right. And it might be a somewhat higher percentage of the elderly who are getting knocked by it and other vulnerable people. But
right.
It's hard. I was walking into a Lowe's yesterday to get some concrete.
And you live in the Southwest.
Walking out with two supermarket carts stuffed double the height of the depth of the cart, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
In paper towels and toilet paper.
Yeah. California has had a run on those things, I hear.
Oh, everywhere is. London is too. People are going mad. You can't get soup. You can't get soap to wash your hands because people are going so crazy with this.
Well, one of the things about having such uncertainty right at the top of the government, and I hear comments on VA. These are respectable. These are well-educated people and everything about. We now live like the Soviet Union, and that you can't even trust any of the statistics or anything coming out of the federal government because of all the finagling that Trump has done with it. And
right.
And you and I are both lefties, and we're both highly critical of the government. But there were certain things you could trust. You know what I mean?
Right.
Certain things.
Right. Generally, yeah.
Yeah.
But when it's very common at times of great risk, which this could be. I just don't.
We don't know.
I haven't seen why, but we wouldn't necessarily see why. At times of great risk, all governments manipulate data.
Right, that's true.
And often with good intention.
Stop a panic. You don't want panic.
Like Fukushima, it wasn't really going to help to describe how terrible the situation was.
Right.
They evacuated the local area, and what else could they do?
Right. You don't want to set in a panic because, look, it does affect the markets.
That's the more jaded view, which has truth to it. But you also don't want to set off a panic if there's nothing you can do. There was nothing they could do about the amount of radiation they were dumping into the Pacific.
Right.
It's difficult to say how much effect that was going to have on the west coast of the United States, for instance.
Right.
But you're not going to evacuate the West Coast.
Exactly, yeah.
So why panic everyone? I mean, actually, to be jaded, you could say, well, if you panic everyone, there are probably all sorts of markets that would benefit.
Well, if you
like the paper industry is benefiting right now.
I don't know what you're doing there, whether you're rearranging your toilet paper rolls or something, but we can hear it here in Manchester, New Hampshire.
I'm not. Yeah.
But yeah, but what about the testing? No, they're not being prepared to have testing kits.
Well, to test it, right? You need something to test that particular virus. How are they going to be loaded with testing kits? I think all of that's on the way.
Well, how much have you been following this closely? Is somebody interested in health?
I've been following it as closely as I feel is useful.
So how long have we known about the virus, which used to be called the Wuhan virus, because I guess it came out of an area in China? When? What's the timeline? How long has this virus been active? Do you recall?
No, I mean I know what you know in terms of when it really started to hit the press. That's when I became aware of it. When was it actually seeded? I don't know. Like I said, I pay attention to what's useful.
What is useful right now? What would you do to prepare?
Well, I can tell you, even though I'm not worried.
Right, I'm not worried either.
I can tell you what I have done to prepare, and what I recommend other people do.
Yeah.
I've stocked up on N-acetylcysteine, more commonly known as NAC.
NAC. Can you repeat that? What the longer? And what is it?
N-acetylcysteine.
And why?
It's a precursor to glutathione.
Yeah.
Which is, to keep things simple for you, and sort of the master recycler of antioxidants once they become oxidized. And it has a particular affinity for mucous membranes.
Yeah.
Obviously, including the lungs. And with the assault this disease is making on the lungs, there is going to be a lot of oxidation.
What is oxidation?
Oxidation is when a free radical comes in. It's the exchange of protons between free radicals and healthy tissue, which then becomes unstable.
What are you eating, by the way?
A little turkey.
How little was the turkey?
Just, the deli slices.
Well, we can hear that in Manchester, too, Tom.
I must have very good microphones. I don't have the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I'm surprised my microphones are that good. So, carrying on.
I have acute hearing.
And I would start taking it twice a day, or at least once a day now, to be prepared, and 2 to 4 times a day should you get infected. Probably 4 times a day.
How do you know that you're infected? And
you get tested. You get flu symptoms, and you get tested. Some people, as you know, don't know they're infected.
Right. We had the first case here in New Hampshire Friday. Somebody went in from one of the healthcare systems, and they asked him to self-quarantine, but then he went to a party that night. And by Monday, they knew he had it, but on Friday, they didn't. And now possibly other people have gotten it because he went to this event. So you only really know if you're tested. By the way, and when we'll go back, it came in December of 2019. That's when it first appeared in China, the virus. So we're talking about 3 months, which. So you're saying responding in 3 months. You can't really fault the governments because who knew? 3 months is too short a time.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything the government. The problem here isn't really primarily the government. It's a highly contagious flu bug.
With the mortality rate 10 times that of flu.
Unclear.
Right. They don't
we really
know.
need to know. In order to set that number, you really need a even reasonably reliable number of how many people are infected. And to be honest, we don't know that. That's
right. And nobody's really sure what the mortality rate is because they're just extrapolating from what this tiny sample they have now.
I mean, the highest they seem to be able to take it is 1%, if the data we're getting is right. And it may be much less than that.
So why does a country...
Let me give you the rest of the medicine chest, and then we can...
All right.
Then people can turn off once they've got the useful stuff, and we can blather about nonsense as we're wont to do.
Okay, start again. The first thing you would have is NAC.
N-acetylcysteine. It's not expensive. You can get it at any good supplement store. You want a high-potency vitamin C.
High potency. What kind of C specifically?
Preferably something that's slow release with bioflavonoids.
Okay.
You want zinc, and you'd like to get the zinc in a food-based version if you can, but if not, don't worry.
What does that mean? Food-based.
Made from a food source.
I don't understand.
There are supplement companies that make supplements created from food, which makes them a little bit different molecularly in terms of what they're packed with, so they tend to be a lot more bioavailable.
Okay, like the different types of B12 or vitamin K. Okay.
Well, B12 is a little different, but yeah. And then the last thing is vitamin D, and you want that in a liquid-based form with vitamin K.
Well, I take vitamin D3 because I have acid reflux and have to take, a drug for that. So D3 in a pill form isn't effective for this.
With K?
What? Excuse me?
Does yours come with vitamin K?
I'm not sure. I never really thought about vitamin K until recently.
It should. It helps the vitamin D to be a lot more effective.
Mine's a calcium with vitamin D3. So.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Well, not knowing your file, I can't really comment on that.
Right. We can do a follow-up next week. A short segment. And we can write an article about, I have my column, I'll interview you, and we can put this information out, and then I can post it, on the Facebook, and there'll be the column on Medium. So.
There you go. But those are the 4 things I would have in place. Now, a lot of people are probably jumping up and down saying, what about echinacea? Okay.
What about it? Say what it is.
I'm not sold on echinacea, some people, but if echinacea works for you, take it.
Now you're talking like I and other people know about it. So why don't you explain what that is?
Echinacea is a plant. It's an herb.
Yes.
And on the simplest level, it's purported to boost immunity, general immunity. So that's a good thing for people to be taking right now, as are vitamin C and zinc and vitamin D. The NAC, I would worry about more if you get exposed to the bug.
So you'd hold off on that until you have symptoms?
I probably would.
Or if somebody that has it, or if come in contact. Right.
Yeah, if you've been exposed. Well, it's cheap, so take it, but I don't think most people need to take NAC, most healthy people.
is there some age, like when does a senior citizen become a senior citizen in terms of health? It's all individual, right? But what would be the cutoff? 60?
Anywhere from, obviously there are lower exceptions to this, but generally I would really start being cautious with anyone over 70.
70, okay.
Or anyone who is younger but feeble.
Or how if you have respiratory problems already, like COPD?
Anybody with a history of smoking, anybody with a history of lung disorders, definitely.
You just said the word smoking, right? And I immediately felt like, oh boy, I had like the sense memory of smoking and wanted to put my fingers up to my mouth. What would be your recommendation to smoke? Because you smoke too. I think I learned how to smoke from you. More than just Camel cigarettes too. When we were at Boston University. But
right, I haven't smoked anything for over 9 years.
So what would your advice be to smokers? Cigarettes. Let's keep it at that.
Quit.
Yeah, because
and they should be on NAC anyway.
A cigarette smoker should be on NAC anyways. As I remember what it did to like your throat and stuff.
Right.
And it really did. Like in winter, it could lower your resistance to and you get colds and things.
Right.
What about the killer weed, marijuana?
Same thing.
Really? Because people are always talking about, oh, it has no bad effects on you at all. Which, it's like, come on, don't give me that. Smoke your pot, but don't pretend it doesn't cause problems physically.
I mean, if you want to do marijuana, do edibles.
Is that CBD, cannabis-based products? Is that?
Can be. Most CBD oils don't have any THC or other cannabinoids that will have a psychoactive effect.
Yet I know people with PTSD that take CBDs and they say that it helps them. Is it just psychological then? Which is valuable in itself.
If people say it helps them, that's good enough for me.
Right, because there is the placebo effect. When they test SSRIs, the antidepressants, the difference in their efficaciousness, 23% for the SSRI, 22% for the for the placebo. But there is a placebo effect. It's real.
Right.
So,
if people feel better, good.
So what would you say to all those college students that, are the grandchildren of Cheech and Chong? Put away that communal bong?
Yeah.
What was the one at BU called? The Green Death? No, not that we know anything about that.
One.
Good God.
Like there was one.
Jesus, Stu would somebody would come and my room was in front of the the bathroom. Inevitably, they'd spill the bong water as they're opening the door. What a stench.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, Stu, who we called It. Yeah. Every time you'd hear them scream in unison, you knew that somebody had kicked over the bong.
Oh, yeah. That thing made the rounds.
Right. His room stank of bong water.
Oh, yeah. So you kids, go easy on the communal bong.
Right.
Or any other advice you can give about what would you stock up? Do you think that people need to stock up on stuff? Just because of the madness of crowds, you're going to have to, it's probably a reason to go get a reasonable amount of stuff, I
don't think it's a bad idea to have some food on hand that has a long shelf life.
Right. Yeah,
just
the New York.
Because if people really go berserk, you're going to have trouble getting food. Now, I almost exclusively eat fresh food.
Yes.
So if there were really a mass panic, I might have trouble getting food to eat, not because of the disease, but because of the fear.
Yeah. You know, one of the things about talking about fresh food is, you know, back in the late 90s when Newt Gingrich had the House, they amended the laws about what organic meant to use human feces and industrial slag, and you could still say it's organic. So the only way, folks, if you want to really organic, know the farm it comes out of, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I laugh at the stuff, you know, the prices. This is organic. This is organic. Yeah, sure it is.
Right. It's really a shame that there's so much about our food supply that we can't trust. But
Jeez, you know.
that's another show, I think.
Yeah, if we had like a President Biden, we'd be inveigling against him because of Monsanto's influence in his administration, like we did with Obama. Remember?
Right.
We were so mad at Obama for many reasons, but including, you know, when they needed somebody that would take over that post that would has the portfolio to regulate Monsanto and pesticides. They gave it to a Monsanto flunky. Well, he did.
Right.
Yeah, such is politics.
I think the other advice we should give people.
Yes,
I
what?
was on a plane recently flying to London, and all these people were wearing masks. And I foolishly was concerned about the recirculating air supply,
Right.
which may or may not be a problem. Probably isn't a significant problem. But then a friend of mine, I brought that up with a friend of mine who pointed out that really what you have to watch out for are the bathrooms.
That's true because it's the coronavirus is spread by the droplets, like I guess when you're
Right.
coughing or
Right.
something.
So what you're looking at is what surfaces are other people touching in significant, especially in significant numbers.
Oh, so
And on a plane, almost everyone's going in and out of the bathroom,
yeah, always.
flushing the toilet with the flush button. And then ironically, people wash their hands and then they turn off the water, which is
Yeah.
one of the hotspots for this virus to gather.
Well, there's 2 points. Almost any water faucet or bubbler, what do they call bubblers? The real thing, you know, water are full of bacteria. That's well known. Any water reservoir, the super bugs in hospitals like C. difficile, which killed my father, you know, they found out that it thrived. Even all the cleaning and disinfectants used in the hospital, it was thriving in, you know, like water pipes. And
Right.
the other thing is a toilet's an atomizer. Most people don't realize that. You know, put the seat down before you flush because it's an atomizer. It just blows all the particles up.
Right.
I was in the Army,
Well,
folks. I was a barracks sergeant. I owned the barracks, literally. And so I know everything about toilets and water and everything because I had to. And there were no seats and toilets in the U.S. Army. Well, there was one to sit on once you got through the first part of basic training. Yes, you don't know the joys of having to defecate in front of a 20 other men. We were all lined up doing it. But we certainly live in different times, huh? It's like we're going back
Let's say
into...
on an airplane,
Okay, going back to the airplane.
let's say on a 777,
Yeah,
let's say a bathroom gets used 70, 80 times on a 10, 12-hour flight.
right.
Each bathroom window. So that's that many hands touching those faucets.
Right.
And so, great, you wash your hands and you touch one of the hot spots that 75 or 80 people have touched in the last number of hours.
And then, like, if you touch your face, which is inevitable,
Right.
even if you thoroughly clean your hands, you're still in the bathroom.
I would carry,
Or what?
if you're concern, and particularly if you're someone at risk,
Yes.
I would carry a handkerchief.
Oh, like our father. Like our fathers did.
Disposable. So you open the door,
Yes.
you flush the toilet, and you operate the sink, insulated by a tissue. And then you throw the tissue away.
Okay. I always, in California, part of the law was to have paper seats for toilets. That in New Hampshire, that doesn't exist. And, there's ways to counteract that. And I can't remember Massachusetts and New York so much, But, it's...
ever since MRSA, for instance, for several years, anytime I go into a hospital, I don't touch the door handles with my hands.
Really?
I don't mean that. I mean the doors within the hospital.
With your skin. You mean the skin of your hands, which is an organ.
Right. I push it with my elbow.
Oh, okay. So even having gloves could be handy.
Could be, but remember, people get it on their gloves and then touch their face. It's the same as not having gloves.
One of the things people don't realize, but I do because I have a good memory, is there was a great debate in the 70s, and I remember it was probably the state of Connecticut, about having round toilet seats. Because toilet seats, when we were young, in a public toilet, were like a horseshoe shape, and there was a reason for that had to do with public safety and when you're male, the genitals don't touch that or anything. And a lot of the bugaboos, if you want to put it that way, or concerns by the 70s, because penicillin could kill practically anything in those days. And by the 70s, they said, we don't need this. A round seat is cheaper, so we should be able to do that, and this regulation's ridiculous. Because there was all those, when we were, it used to be jokes when I was a little kid about how Al Capone caught syphilis from a toilet seat, stuff like that, which, to my father or grandfather's generation, they probably thought that was true, but by the 70s, it was just a silly joke that disappeared. But see, you're talking about stuff that people took seriously in a different time of public health, where there were things being passed around, and public, there weren't many public toilets when I was a kid. I remember going to Boston in 78. You were on your own. There were no public toilets.
Well, now there are, at least in England, I haven't really seen them here. But in Europe, in the EU and England, which is, I guess, not the EU anymore.
That's a whole nother show.
Often in public bathrooms, there are disposable seat covers.
Yes, which California has that. That's part of their law.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. So.
No, I always use them when I do. But in San Francisco, when they put out the public toilets for the homeless, when I was there in the 90s, you'd get a token, and the door opens up after 5 minutes because junkies will go in and shoot up. But they had a proposal, I don't know if it ever worked, where they would be self-sanitizing, like after the person left. It would be hit with steam or something. I can't remember what they were going to use. And I have no idea if that happened. But because, junkies would go in there and nod off.
I was aware of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, and when you were talking about London and the EU, I was saying, I was wondering if you were going to mention like a self-sanitizing toilet. But it was just an idea in the 90s.
I have seen one that automatically rotate a plastic cover over the toilet seat.
Was that in Japan?
I don't remember where I saw it. I think in Europe.
Oh, because, the Japanese are very, when it comes to toilet technology, they're always at the forefront. You lived in Japan.
Right. Even though the English, of course, It was Thomas Crapper who invented the modern toilet.
That's right, because they have old toilets that says Thomas THO Crapper and Company.
Right.
Well, Tom, that was all part of the Victorian, what was the Freudian thing we all learned in 101 about something, the anal stage or something. But I guess we're all going to have to become anal again.
Yep. So some people we know are already ahead of the game.
Oh, yeah.
I won't name anyone, but I think you know who we're talking about.
Let's not get... Yeah, he had the Sandy wipes back like in 1979. Well, let's not get into that. He might still be a fan.
I think he used to wipe the bong clean before he'd take a hit.
Oh, that's right. And he used to have that sanitizer. He used to sanitize everything. Where we go, what the hell? Give me that. Well, I guess an anal personality can help you have a long and happy life. But you and I...
How much longer is Joe?
Well, remember my nickname was Oscar Madison. I'm such a slob.
Let's talk about baseball. It's 2020.
Okay, Brendan, are you out there? Let's change that American flag. Oh, here we go. Hey, do you have any, I just want to say that congratulations to Derek Jeter, one of the greatest players ever, 1 vote shy of being unanimous in the Hall of Fame. I think that he got cheated out of 2 MVPs. But, when you think about Jeter, you got to think about that great team that he was the anchor of. Because no individual wins a world championship. And he was on 4 world champions and 6 pennant winners. And because if that was true, Ted Williams would have been... It would be Ted Williams that had 9 World Series champion rings and not Joe DiMaggio. But he was part of one of the... I'd say the 1998 New York Yankees, Tom, was the best team I ever saw in my life.
I like 96, too.
Well, 98 was tremendous. Is that the one that won 110 games?
98 was when they put up the just crazy numbers, which are no longer crazy, actually, but then they were.
Yeah, but that was a team playing as a team. It was amazing.
And that was true in 96, too. That was true of the whole dynasty.
That's true. When you had Joe Torre, but the 98 team it was just amazing. They came in Oakland 4 games and won them all, and at least two of them, I'll have to talk to the major because he was with me. 2 of them were won in the 9th inning, from being behind. And the last one, Darryl Strawberry comes off the bench and hits a tremendous dinger, And Oakland wasn't exactly dinger-friendly territory at the time.
Not at all.
Yeah, and it was just... But, Jeter was a team player. If there's one knock I have against him, it's his ego in that I think he should have gone to third base when Alex Rodriguez came because he was the far better shortstop. And... A-Rod should have been shortstop, and he should have gone to third. Because third's the logical progression for a shortstop. And he didn't have the range, But tremendous player. How many Hall of Famers were on the team?
Who was there besides Jeter and Mo?
Well, tell the folks who Mo is. And tell...
Everybody knows who Mo is.
Well,
the only player to ever be elected unanimously to the Hall of Fame.
Now, Tom, this is Red Sox territory.
Derek Smith by 1 no vote.
Tom, this is Red Sox territory. You have to spell things out for us. We're still traumatized.
Oh, you all know Mo.
We are. Don't be coy.
I mean, Mo is. He's a model citizen. He spends all his time and energy and money giving back to his community.
How many saves did he have? 642?
6 something, yeah, I don't know.
Who else was
I
on
mean-
the team though? That Paul O'Neill was on the team, who was a fine player, but not a Hall of Famer. But he gave his all
Right.
to that
It was
team.
exactly that type of player that made the dynasty. It was the Paul O'Neills and the Tino Martinez's
Yeah,
and the Scott Brocious.
yeah,
More
that's
than
true.
the superstars. It was because those guys, nobody was safe on that team.
But 600.
We learned in the '80s you could get a bunch of aging superstars, but that wasn't enough to win.
Yeah,
You needed
yeah.
those motivated working class players. As working class as you can be, making $4.5 million a year or whatever it was.
What you mean is, Reggie Jackson was worth every penny he had, because when it came September and then October, he delivered. But a lot of superstars weren't really worth their price, is what you say. By working class, you mean a B-plus player, a B or B-plus player that when put into a team just delivers along with the team.
Right, plays his ass off.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott Brocious was amazing as a Yankee. Tino Martinez.
Tino was
What
a hell of a player.
first baseman he was. Willie Randolph.
The New York Yankees '98 won 114 games. That was the AL record until Sweet Lou's Seattle Mariners won 116, which the Cubs won back in 1908, and then they got blew out in the first round of the playoffs. That didn't happen to the 1998 Yankees. They humiliated my father's team, the Braves. Didn't they sweep the Braves?
Right.
Good God.
I don't know.
Mario.
I'm not Mr. Baseball. I don't go back to all the stuff before I was alive,
What about, Mariano Rivera? He had 652 saves. I was off by 10. The greatest reliever
you're talking
ever.
about the '96 Braves.
No, they didn't sweep the '96 Braves. I was back to '98.
I think we came close. Weren't we 4-1?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Something like that.
What do you think about Bernie Williams?
I want to talk about 2020, my friend.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We are at the time of year where every team is a contender. And it's exciting.
Not the
went
Red
out,
Sox.
Somebody who I don't want to pick on went on and on and on with me last year. Now, it's out of his love for baseball and love for the Yankees, about how the Yankees weren't ponying up the money they had to put up to get the big talent.
Yeah, I remember that.
Rice and Reed Manning.
Oh, by the way, 1998, it was Padres.
We don't need another one of these guys for $300 million. We need aces. And the more aces, the better. And this year, to prove this person wrong about the Yankees not being willing to spend, we went out and signed a guy who, according to ESPN this year, is the second best player in baseball.
And who is that?
Cole. Who is that?
Tom,
Garrett Cole.
This isn't inside baseball. This is for a general audience. We're still reeling.
Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole.
We're waiting to we haven't had our sentence. We're now the Black Sox of 2018. We're still waiting the death sentence. Well, we do have the death sentence. John Henry.
Garrett Cole was originally drafted by the Yankees, but he passed to go to school. He wound up with the Pirates. Then a couple years ago, Houston got him in a trade with the Pirates, but it was absurd. They were holding out for so much. We offered so much more than they got from Houston, but they wouldn't take our offer. And then Houston, they took a shit offer, and Houston got one of the greatest pitchers in the majors.
Did you just swear?
And he cannot be charged because he didn't benefit from the cheating that was going on in Houston. He was a pitcher. He never hit.
No, Tom, come on.
We went out
Come on,
and
Tom.
for
The pitchers,
$300
the
what,
pitchers,
$42 million
the
for
pitchers,
9 years?
the pitchers benefited. A pitcher benefits when your offense supports you, does it not?
Oh yeah, of course.
If
But
you're
he- but
Giancarlo
listen, for last year,
Stanton.
he led the league in ERA. He led the league in strikeouts and ERA.
Well, this isn't the 1960s. A guy can turn into a bum awful fast nowadays.
Well, he's a pitcher. His arm could blow out at any time.
Or his Peds dealer might be pinched.
I mean, 9-year contracts, other than Jeter's, 9-year contracts, he had a 10-year contract, very seldom pay off. And for a pitcher,
no
for a
kidding.
starting pitcher, it's incredibly dangerous. But I'm still glad the Yankees signed him.
What do you think they're going to? What is your forecast for 2020, the American League?
Yankees.
Come on, more than that. You're a Yankees fan. I expect you to say that.
Well, no, but I really do think if we can avoid the injuries we had last year, I mean, Christ, we already lost Severino, our other ace, to Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
He's going all year. But I still think we've got the talent to win. And Los Angeles is going to be very hard to beat in the American League, in the National League.
Oh, that Los Angeles, I think, is the favorite to win it all. Of course, that's saying a lot, but they're the favorite in the National League.
I'm not scared of Los Angeles.
Why?
Yeah, I think that's who we're going to see in the World Series. As I said at the beginning, this is the time of year when everybody's a contender, but I still think those are the guys. Now, I know Dave is absolutely convinced
that the
Nationals are going to repeat.
Well, they could.
And
I think that
I like the Nationals. Yes, they could. To his credit, yes, they could.
Well, that's
They're a great team.
That's Sammy Davis, the biography. Yes, I can.
There you go.
Oh, you don't? Your memories are failing you. You don't remember Sammy Davis?
Of course I do.
Right.
Candyman.
He wasn't a baseball fan. His fan was he was a fan of women. But let's get back to baseball. I think the L.A. Dodgers look like a prohibitive favorite.
We both have great staffs and great hitting.
Yeah, but they got a catcher, and you guys don't.
Oh yes, we do.
No, you don't. The guy's the worst catcher in baseball.
Only 5 catchers have ever hit 40 home runs in a season.
So what?
And Gary Sanchez is bound to join that group.
What bound? Yeah. And Mr. Baseball said that Judge was going to hit break Barry Bonds' record or something. Hey, you can't have a great team with a lousy catcher, and he's a lousy catcher. I don't get the idea of keeping him at that spot. Yes, he is, Tom. The statistics reveal it. How many World Series have you won with him catching?
None.
How many did you win with Carlton Fisk's nemesis, 76 to 78?
Thurman? Only
2. Yeah, 76. Oh, geez. Well, you run into the big red machine.
We got swept by the Reds in 76.
Well, that's hardly a sin considering what the Reds were like in 1976.
Yep. Yeah, that was the peak of the big red machine, no doubt.
My God, after that Red Sox all-time classic World Series, but what a team that was. We can talk about all the Hall of Famers. And who caught?
I'd like to bring up one more subject.
Well, who caught for the Big Red Machine, Tom? Some catcher that hit 40 home runs. Johnny
Bench, yep.
But Johnny Bench was also a superb fielding catcher. Well,
how many baseballs do you hold in one hand? 7?
I know that They have pictures of Sandy Koufax with 4 in one hand.
I think Johnny could hold 7 at a time.
He had hands that big.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the point was, you had a world-class fielding catcher that was a 2-time MVP because he could also slug like hell. And by the time he was 30, he was all burned out because he caught 160 games a year. But the thing was, there was never much of a pitching staff on those teams, as you guys found out when you picked up the kid in '77. And but there was Johnny Bench. You guys need a catcher. With a good catcher, I think the Yankees would just run away with things.
Well, we'll see. Now that we've established the Yankees are going to win the World Series,
No.
the last thing I would like to bring up is my great grief at the moment. You notice I'm not my usual jovial self.
But
I
why?
have a lot of grief about the way that Joe Biden has suddenly become the prohibitive favorite with a clear path to the nomination.
What does that have to do with baseball?
Nothing. It's the last subject of the day.
We
We're
only
almost
have
to the
4
hour, so
minutes.
we're gonna, what do they do? We're just going to be yapping, and they're going to turn us off. It's suddenly going to go to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, or
No, it's going to go to Norm, the psychic.
right.
You've got about 2 minutes. Say your piece.
Well, what's your take? We're going to have to vote for Biden, aren't we?
Yep. It's too
How do you
little.
feel about that?
I think he can beat Trump. I think he will beat Trump. I think what we're seeing is he has a broad appeal across a lot of demographic groups, which will create a coalition to beat Trump. And significantly, anybody but Trump Republicans, they will vote for Biden, but they're not going to vote for Bernie. Bernie put his eggs in a certain basket, and he admonished young people for failing him. You can't build a campaign expecting young people to turn out. They gave the 18-year-olds the vote, and by 72, George McGovern was counting on them. They didn't come out. They never come out.
You can't blame the voter. It's like blaming the audience for hating the movie.
Well, he can't blame the voter, and Elizabeth Warren can't blame the voter. But,
Nobody can blame it. It is fruitless. Even though I don't have a lot of respect for voters, it is fruitless to blame the voter. The voter is just the reality we're dealing with.
Well, I'll say this one thing, and it's absolutely true, is that the people like Pete Buttigieg and the people like Amy Klobuchar benefited from racial gerrymandering, the racist gerrymandering of the Ohio and New Hampshire primary. And there's not going to be an Iowa caucus and a New Hampshire primary leading off because Joe Biden came in 5th with 8%. It's over. It's over. And there's a lot of things that can be said about how the New Hampshire primary was perverted by the professional class that treats the Democratic Party as property, but not today. Tom, thank you for being on the show. I'll contact you. We got to write an article. It's over now. Just like Bernie's campaign is just about over. So, but thank you.
Yeah, it's just about over. Okay.
I'll talk to you again. Thanks, Ward 13. See you next week.
Look forward to being on. Thanks for having me.
Yep.